Hey everybody. It's been a little while since I did a late night Bible study, and I figured, well, it was time. It was really long overdue. One of the things I don't talk a lot about is that for about 6 going on 7 years, I was involved with the Mennonite Church of America. They're an Anabaptist church. I ended up as the adult Christian education director, if you will, glorified Sunday school teacher. It was my job to teach Bible. And through my involvement there, I grew to really love the Anabaptist theology and their thought process. Even today, it really colors a lot of who I am and how I act and how I react to things. They're very noble. I love the Schleitheim Confession of Faith, you know. A lot of what they believe and how they form or come to the Bible, it revolves around the Sermon on the Mount. And in particular, these verses out of the book of Matthew, 5th chapter, 38th verse. You've heard that it was said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. But I tell you not to resist an evil person, but whoever slaps you on your right cheek, turn the other to him also. If anyone wants to sue you and take away your tunic, let him have your cloak also. And whoever compels you to go 1 mile, you go with him 2. And give to him who asks you, and from him who wants to borrow from you, do not turn away. You have heard it said, you shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I say to you, love your enemies. Bless those who curse you. Do good to those who hate you. Pray for those who spitefully use you and persecute you, that you may be sons of your Father in heaven. For he makes his sun rise on the evil and on the good, and sends rain on the just and on the unjust. For if you love those who love you, what reward have you? Do not even the tax collectors do the same? And if you greet your brethren only, what do you do more than others? Do not even the tax collectors do so? Therefore you shall be perfect, just as your Father in heaven is perfect. What a radical concept that the Messiah brought out, you know, and completely against human nature. Why, he said to love your enemies. And he did so that you would be perfect, so that you would be called sons of God. Hating your enemies was not what the Messiah said to do. He doesn't just say love one another. You see, that would have to do with just within the body ecclesia. He says to love your enemies. And the Romans at that time, you know, they would conscript people into servitude. And if they wanted you to, you know, to carry something as a beast of burden, if they decided, hey, you know, this load that I'm carrying, I don't want to carry it anymore. You're in servitude. You carry it 1 mile. And Jesus says, don't just carry it 1 mile, carry it 2 miles. And if they strike you across the face, and there's this whole thing about striking across the face because you would offer up the unclean side. So they would slap you on the left side, right? No, they'd slap you on the right side, and you'd offer up the unclean side as well, or the left side. I forget how that all works out, but the whole idea was that they would take and slap you on the unclean side, and you would take and and offer up the other cheek to let him slap you on the clean side. It's a study in and of itself. He says, do these things. Now think of the beauty of why they would do this, right? Why the Messiah would want you to do this. He wants you to do this because while you're carrying that load, while you're conscripted, while these people are baffled about why you would love them instead of hate them, why you would do good to them instead of hate them, isn't that a perfect opportunity to tell them about the grace, the love, and the mercy of Jesus Christ? I think so. And so did the early Anabaptists. This is from an article originally published in Anabaptism Today, issue 6, June 1994, by Joseph Lecce. I'm just going to read the very first part of the article to you. Late in the winter of 1569, Dirk Willems of Holland was discovered as an Anabaptist, and a thief catcher came to arrest him at the village of Asperen. Running for his life, Dirk came to a body of water still coated with ice. After making his way across in great peril, he realized his pursuer had fallen through into the freezing water. Turning back, Dirk ran to the struggling man and dragged him safely to shore. The thief catcher wanted to release Dirk, but a burgomaster, having appeared at the scene, reminded the man that he was under oath to deliver criminals to justice. Dirk was bound off to prison, interrogated, and tortured in an unsuccessful effort to make him renounce his faith. He was tried and found guilty of having been rebaptized. We see. Let me just pause here in the article. One of the huge disagreements that the Anabaptists had with the members of the Reformationist Church was that at that time, the members of the Reformationist Church and the Catholic Church did, and I believe still do, baptize infants. Anabaptists do not baptize infants. They would believe that you have to have a solid confession of faith first before you can be baptized, which is something that I still firmly hold on to. In fact, if you were baptized as a child, I wouldn't recognize your baptism at all for purposes of membership in the congregation. You'd have to be baptized as an adult, as a professing Christian. So that was his big crime. He was rebaptized. He was an Anabaptist. He was tried and found guilty of being rebaptized, of holding secret meetings in his home, ostensibly Bible studies, and of allowing baptism there, all of which he freely confessed. Persisting obstinately in his opinion, Dirk was sentenced to execution by fire. On the day of his execution, a strong east wind blew the flames away from his upper body, so that his death was long delayed. The same wind carried his voice to the next town, where people heard him cry more than 70 times, "Oh, my Lord, my God." The judge present was finally filled with sorrow and regret. Wheeling his horse around so he saw no more, he ordered the executioner, dispatched the man with a quick death. See, Dirk Willems understood the concept of loving your enemies. He could have run across that half-frozen lake, gotten across, turned around to see the guy that was trying to chase after him, was going to catch him, fall in through the thin ice, and drown. He loved his enemy. He loved his enemy even though it was going to mean his own death. So, what would Jesus do? Jesus would tell you to love your enemies. And, you know, His words cut like a two-edged sword. And if you greet your brethren only, what do you do more than others? Even the tax collectors do so. The drug dealers, the prostitutes, the homosexuals, the bank robbers. They all love their friends. They curse their enemies. Therefore you shall be perfect, just as your Father in heaven is perfect. Do you realize that before you got saved, you were God's enemy, and yet He loved you? A perfect love, not a perfect hatred. Be edified, church. Be edified. And may the Lord be glorified. God bless.